SEC is fine with the technical issues. They're working on the technical issues. The idea is this: it's an exemption from the securities laws with regard to very small types of investments, not to exceed $1 million. No one person can invest more than $10,000 with some exceptions. And it would have to be all in Virginia. It's under what we call the blue sky laws, if you're familiar with securities laws. It's strictly Virginia investors, not interstate investors. So the federal securities laws would not apply. Tony Smith is here. Would like to speak in favor of it.
Thank you, Senator Edwards, Honorable Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Tony Smith. I run a small business in the Shenandoah Valley. I'm also a member of the Shenandoah Valley Partnership, whose Executive Director, Dennis Burnett, just emailed Senator Ogenshank in support of this bill. You can check later, sir.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay. This is a bill that is supportive of small business. It's a bill, the type of legislation that is beginning to take force in other states like North Carolina, Georgia, Kansas. It steps in advance of federal legislation, which is expected to occur sometime by mid-2015, is what we understand. At the behest of Senator Edwards, we consulted closely with Mr. Ron Thomas, who brings a tremendous amount of experience and insight about consumer protection provisions. We essentially worked very closely with him in asking him to develop the substitute language that you have in front of you. So the bill offers ways for Virginia residents to invest in Virginia businesses. It's not only fiscally neutral, it's fiscally positive because it's going to spur more investment by Virginia residents into Virginia businesses. The offering limit is $2 million up to $10,000 for unaccredited investors with various stages of protection that Mr. Thomas can speak to very eloquently. I have great respect for his experience and depth of concern about consumer protection. And I just maybe respectfully suggest perhaps Mr. Thomas, if you'd like to speak to your concerns.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Ron Thomas, Director of the State Corporation Commission's Division of Securities and Retail Franchising. The Commission takes no position on the bill. That's a policy matter for the General Assembly. However, there are concerns with respect to unintended consequences of this bill regarding issuers and internet platforms that would be broker dealers by definition. Section 3A11 of the Securities Act of 1933 and Rule 147 require that all offers and sales of an issuer's securities be conducted intra-state. Securities and Exchange Commission guidance suggests that internet-based offerings would be deemed interstate, not intra-state in nature. That out-of-state investors are given access to their offerings. There are concerns with violations of federal law by issuers offering securities through the internet, and out-of-state investors are given access to those offerings. Any person acting as a broker-dealer, as defined by Section 3.4 and 3A5 of the Exchange Act of 1934, must be registered with the SEC, join an SRO, and a National Securities Exchange, or both, unless otherwise exempt. However, broker-dealers that conduct their business purely on an intrastate basis are not required to register at a federal level. But Securities and Exchange Commission guidance is clear that intrastate exemption is narrowly construed and offerings advertised through the internet are deemed interstate, not intrastate in nature. Federally unregistered internet platforms accessible by persons in another state, relying on the state exemption will be engaged in unlicensed sales subject to Securities and Exchange Commission action. There is an alternative to the bill that does not restrict offers and sales to the Commonwealth, eliminating the intrastate restrictions, provides a larger pool of investors, and affords better investor protections. I'm referring to a provision found in the Jumpstart and Business Startups Act, known as JOBS Act, signed into law by President Obama April 5, 2012, and known as crowdfunding. The public comment period on the Securities and Exchange Commission rulemaking for crowdfunding ends February 3, 2014. It's my understanding that there's an anticipated effective date sometime late summer or early fall. Al did read an article this morning that indicates maybe spring. Issuers are prohibited from advertising securities except for providing notice that directs investors to an intermediary. An intermediary is either a broker registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission or a new type of broker that's called a portal. Portals are required to provide educational materials to investors regarding the risk of investing in startups, illiquidity, and possible loss of the entire investment. Reduce the risk of fraud through mandatory background checks on officers and directors of issuers. Ensure no investor exceeds their investment limit. Afford investors the right to cancel their investment and receive a refund if the target amount of the offer is not reached. Protect an investor's privacy information, and ensure that no compensation is paid to persons supplying information on potential investors. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
So, Mr. Thomas, you feel that the technical pieces of this legislation pass scrutiny now?
I think the crowdfunding on the federal level provides greater investor protection from the standpoint that an issuer is prohibited under the federal crowdfunding law from offering or selling securities to investors. They can only refer potential investors to an intermediary, which of course is either a SEC registered broker-dealer or a portal. And the portal's main purpose is to educate investors. And I think that the biggest investor protection issue here is investigating the background of issuers. It's not contained in the Virginia version.
Mr. Chair. Senator Morris.
I'm trying to follow through the testimony there just for a second, and it sounded like that part of your concern about the bill was security sold outside of the Commonwealth.
That's correct.
Does the Patron have a particular comment about, is that something that can be changed in the bill?
There is an ability, from my understanding, that from the operation of the internet portal or website, that you can restrict access to persons who provide information to indicate that they are a resident of the Commonwealth.
To build on this point, the way it would work very effectively is the website would say, here's a website for Virginia residents interested in investing in Virginia businesses. If you're interested, click on this link, which would open you up to a registration form where you indicate your permanent address. And only if that address shows a Virginia address would it then open it up to offerings in Virginia. So I think the points that you heard about the need for consumer protections are there technologically very easily achieved.
Any other questions? Senator Morris. Anybody else have any questions? Senator Starks.
Will this have a fiscal impact on the commission?
Yes, sir. We would have to employ, in my anticipation, at least 2 investigators to handle additional consumer complaints. unfortunately, there will be those persons that will take advantage of this.
And it was, you have a budget amendment and it was the tax base.
Wouldn't work, and have it this way. No, that help. One possibility, I understand Mr. Thomas and I heard this from him earlier, that the federal law is comment period regulations ends next Monday, I guess, the 3rd. We don't know when the federal regulations will come out, and some are speculative this time, but maybe they're going to have probably something that will intrastate investors. Well, I said we would need something like this perhaps. In other words, this is a possibility of taking on, putting it on to next year and take a look and see whether or not, see what the federal regulations look like. Although there are others, Tony and others would like to go ahead and start something like this in Virginia, strictly intrastate. You can find that as another possibility.
All right, any further questions? Any in the audience, any others in the audience that would speak in favor of this? Are there those that wish to speak in opposition to this legislation? Mr. Evans, I think this is the first time that we've attempted something like this. Sure. I think you would be committed to bring it to our attention. I'm a little apprehensive at this point, knowing that there's federal legislation pending, and with the comments that have been made by the commission, I think we should probably make sure that we have all of our bases covered before we just go forward with legislation. It's up to the committee.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect to Senator Edwards, I would respect the bill carried.
Moved in second. Any other comments? All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill is carried. Let's see, I saw some